The Golden State Warriors find themselves at a pivotal crossroads as the preseason winds down, and all eyes are turning to the unresolved situation surrounding Seth Curry. With just 2 exhibition games remaining against the Trail Blazers and the Clippers, the younger Curry has yet to make his preseason debut. It's raised a lot of eyebrows and stirred up plenty of speculation among fans. Is this a calculated decision by the front office? Is he battling some undisclosed injury? Or is this simply a case of roster logistics and contractual hurdles? Seth is currently on an Exhibit 9 deal, which already limits his chances of making the regular season roster. These deals are non-guaranteed and typically act as placeholders or opportunities for players to show flashes of value in camp. They rarely lead to full-time roster spots unless something drastic shifts within the roster, be it an injury or surprise trade. Right now, neither has happened, but the injury to Moses Moody could open a window. Moody is out for the rest of the preseason with a calf issue, and his status for the beginning of the regular season remains uncertain. That could be Seth's best shot. If there's ever a time to make a statement, it's now. The Warriors need to see what Seth brings to the floor in a live game scenario, and they need to see it fast. There's no room for guessing anymore. Against the Lakers, had Seth been available, that late comeback attempt might have had a different ending. With Steph and Jimmy out, it was up to Draymond and the bench to fight back. Kuminga played with intensity, and Pods was surprisingly effective, knocking down shots and playing with confidence. Even skeptics started taking note of Pods, especially after his earlier, somewhat premature comments about being the successor to the core trio of Steph, Draymond, and Jimmy. That kind of talk raised eyebrows because, frankly, he hadn't done anything to back it up. But Sunday's performance against the Lakers showed flashes of potential. Still, the absence of a consistent outside threat like Seth hurt the team. His signature three-point shooting could have been the difference in what ended up being a narrow loss. The clock is ticking. The matchup with the Blazers is not just another preseason game. It could be Seth's last real chance to prove he belongs on this team before final decisions are made. If he suits up and delivers the kind of shooting clinic he's known for, say, knocking down 6 or 7 triples, then the Warriors front office may have no choice but to seriously reconsider the roster. And not just to keep Steph happy, although that matters. It's about adding firepower and depth to a team that's trying to make one more championship run. Beyond Seth, though, there's another name quietly floating into the conversation: Drew Timme. Now, this isn't a headline-grabbing move. Tim's never been the flashy prospect expected to go top 5 in the draft. But what he brings is substance over style. A hard-nosed, high-IQ big man who knows how to operate in the paint, fight for rebounds, and chip in with tough buckets. His time with the Long Island Nets last season showed he's capable. Averaging around 11 points and 7 boards in 13 NBA games after a G League stint isn't earth-shattering, but it's solid. That's exactly what the Warriors could use right now, a dependable role player with a team-first mindset. Golden State's current front court isn't exactly deep. You've got Draymond, Al Horford, Quinn Post, and maybe Kuminga playing spot minutes as a small ball 4. That's not going to hold up across a grueling season, especially when you consider that both Horford and Draymond are well into their 30s. You need insurance. You need energy. You need someone like Timme, who's been through the grind in college, became Gonzaga's all-time leading scorer, and understands how to carve out a niche without demanding the spotlight. He may not stretch the floor, but he does the dirty work, and every contender needs a guy like that. The looming challenge for Golden State is managing the balance between experience and youth. Their core, Steph, Draymond, Jimmy, Horford, and even Buddy Hield, is aging. There's no sugarcoating it. The average age of that starting lineup could hover around 32. That's rare in today's NBA, especially for teams trying to run up and down the court and outpace opponents. If this roster is going to keep up, adding fresh legs who can contribute immediately is crucial. That's why giving real consideration to a player like Timme matters. And it's also why Seth Curry, despite the contract limitations, should be more than just a footnote on this roster. He could help lighten the offensive burden, especially with Moody's injury lingering. As for Quinn Post, he's had his moments this preseason. In the last matchup against the Lakers, he showed off his range, knocking down 4 out of 9 attempts from beyond the arc. That's a promising sign, but his interior presence is still a work in progress. Against someone like DeAndre Ayton, Post looked overwhelmed in the paint. He couldn't establish position, couldn't hold his ground defensively, and it cost the team during critical stretches of the game. He's clearly got the tools to stretch the floor, but he needs to develop that post presence if he's going to be more than just a perimeter big. The upcoming rematch against the Blazers gives him another big opportunity to prove he can hang with physical bigs. Portland's front line features two legit 7-footers in Hanson Young and Donovan Clingan. Young fouled out in the last matchup, but that's expected as he adjusts from the Chinese Basketball Association to the NBA. The real test is Clingan, a tough, physical player who's expected to be a part of Portland's future. If Post can hold his own against a guy like that, it'll go a long way towards solidifying his place in the rotation. And make no mistake, this next game against the Blazers matters. Not just for Seth, not just for Post, but for the whole Warriors team. They need to close the preseason strong. A win against Portland followed by a strong showing against the Clippers would cap the exhibition slate at 4 wins and 1 loss, sending the team into the regular season opener against the Lakers with momentum. And yes, that opener is on the road at Crypto Arena, still the Staples Center in the hearts of many fans. But there's a psychological edge in starting your season by walking into the home of a rival and walking out with a convincing win. That's how you set the tone. That's how you launch a title campaign. But they can't afford to look past Portland. The first matchup was a comeback win, a gritty performance that showed flashes of the Warriors' DNA. But this second round can't be about just chasing a dramatic finish. It has to be about coming out strong, setting the pace early, and keeping the foot on the gas. If Seth plays and makes a statement, if Post locks in and shows defensive toughness in the paint, if Pods continues to build on his recent momentum, then this game could be the turning point. And then there's the roster puzzle. 2 games left, but several decisions still hanging in the air. Do the Warriors cut someone to open a spot for Seth? Do they finalize who gets the 2-way contracts? Do they take a flyer on Drew Timm to bolster the front court? Moody's injury throws a wrench into everything. A lingering calf issue could keep him out of the start of the season. That opens the door for changes. If Seth goes off in his debut, the front office might be forced to act. Maybe it means waiving a fringe player. Maybe it means navigating the salary cap to get him onto a veteran minimum deal. But waiting until November to sign him to a prorated contract might be too late if another team swoops in. The challenge now is execution. It's one thing to have options on the table and potential pieces in play. It's another to make the right moves before it's too late. The Warriors have always prided themselves on culture, chemistry, and continuity, but this current moment feels like a delicate balancing act between preserving that identity and adapting to the evolving needs of the roster. Seth Curry's situation exemplifies that tension perfectly. He's not just a familiar face or a sentimental figure tied to his brother. He's a legitimate shooter, a veteran who understands the game, and someone who, if given the green light, could seamlessly slide into the rotation and offer consistent production from behind the arc. The Warriors' offense thrives on movement and spacing, and there's no denying that Seth fits the system better than most fringe guards trying to carve out a roster spot right now. But with Moody's status up in the air, the pressure only grows. Calf injuries are tricky. They may look minor on paper, but they linger. They disrupt rhythm. They restrict explosiveness. And more importantly, they limit availability. If Moody isn't fully ready for the first week or 2 of the season, that's a gap the team can't afford to ignore. Seth could fill that void, especially if the team decides to temporarily part ways with a player who hasn't cracked the rotation or has fallen behind in camp. It's a cold part of the business, but championship-level organizations make those decisions swiftly and without hesitation. And right now, Golden State has to think in terms of what gets them wins in October and November, not just what sounds good in theory. There's also the reality of the hard cap. Financial flexibility is minimal, and every decision comes with a ripple effect. That's why the Warriors might be looking at ways to convert Seth's current Exhibit 9 deal into a full minimum contract without pushing them past their financial threshold. Waiting until November might save money, but it also risks losing an asset during a critical part of the schedule. If they can shuffle around enough to sign him now and ride the wave of a hot shooting debut, that could help them weather the early season storm while keeping the locker room vibes intact, especially with someone like Seth, who already commands respect without disrupting chemistry. And then there's the front court situation, which continues to be a gray area. While the Warriors are loaded with guards and wings who can handle the ball and create offense, their interior depth is limited. Draymond Green remains the heart and soul of the defense, but asking him to guard true centers for 35 minutes a night is simply unsustainable over an entire season. Al Horford brings experience and high basketball IQ, but his body doesn't respond the way it used to. Quentin Post shows promise with his shooting and length, but he still looks like a project in progress, especially when it comes to physicality in the paint. That's where someone like Drew Timm makes even more sense. He may not stretch the floor or wow anyone with athleticism, but he's battle-tested, fundamentally sound, and plays with a toughness that could really help in short spurts. He could come in, grab boards, set hard screens, and be that guy who keeps things steady while the stars rest. And on a team with championship aspirations, those minutes matter more than people think. It's also worth noting how many of the Warriors' rotational players are over 30. The cumulative wear and tear adds up, and while the team has depth in theory, that depth lacks experience. Pods, Kuminga, Post, these are still young players learning the NBA game, and you can't expect them to carry heavy loads consistently just yet. Adding a veteran like Tim or securing a proven shooter like Seth doesn't just fill a gap, it adds balance. Balance between youth and experience, between offensive firepower and defensive stability, between development and winning now. Looking ahead to the next game against the Trail Blazers, the pressure to deliver is tangible. The first meeting showed us flashes of resilience and late-game execution, but the Warriors can't afford to dig themselves into holes early again. This game needs to be a statement, a wire-to-wire performance that sets the tone. If Seth gets minutes, even a brief stint, it needs to be impactful. No slow starts, no passive stretches. Come in, hit shots, move off the ball, and play smart defense. That's the formula. The team needs a reason to believe he can contribute from day one, not just eventually. And if he goes off for a handful of threes and plays within the flow of the offense, then the front office will be forced to reconsider the depth chart. Before we continue, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Dubs updates. Let's keep going. Whispers are starting to swirl once again around the Golden State Warriors locker room, and insiders suggest that the fragile harmony between Stephen Curry and Draymond Green may be fracturing yet again. Fans who thought the tension between the star point guard and the defensive powerhouse had cooled off are reportedly in for a shock, as sources close to the team hint at another clash brewing, this time with stakes higher than ever. According to whispers from within the organization, the chemistry that has propelled the Warriors to multiple championships is showing cracks. Curry, the franchise's iconic scorer, has allegedly grown increasingly frustrated with Green's assertive leadership style and tendency to vocalize criticism on and off the court. Green, in turn, seems unwilling to temper his fiery approach, believing that his intensity is precisely what keeps the team competitive. The result, a clash of egos that insiders describe as inevitable and potentially combustible. Fans may recall that this is far from the first time the two have publicly disagreed. Their previous skirmishes, though often buried beneath headlines celebrating victories, have left lingering tension in the locker room. Now, according to sources, the disputes are reportedly spilling into practice sessions, with heated exchanges over strategy, shot selection, and defensive assignments. Some speculate that the once solid camaraderie of the Warriors' core may be under threat as the two stars struggle to reconcile personal pride with team goals. League observers are watching closely, noting that Curry and Green's dynamic is central to the Warriors' identity. Any prolonged discord could have ripple effects not just on the court, but in contract negotiations, roster decisions, and even the team's playoff outlook. Meanwhile, teammates are reportedly walking a fine line, trying to mediate between two strong personalities without taking sides. The speculation has already sparked a flurry of social media debate, with fans divided over whether the tension will ignite a new era of competitiveness or spiral into something more damaging. For now, the Warriors' locker room remains a powder keg of talent and tension. If the rumored feud between Curry and Green escalates, the basketball world may be in for a dramatic off-court story rivaling any game highlight. As the whispers grow louder, one thing is certain. When two of the most outspoken figures in the NBA collide, the noise is impossible to ignore. Stay updated exclusively with the latest Dub Nation news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep getting daily updates on the Warriors. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Your input is essential for the Dubs community. Stay tuned for the next video.